Good, whatever time of the day it is you happen to be listening. This is the P&A Podcast Express coming to you live from the Palm Street Studios.
Are we live or is the studio live?
I do believe the studio is somewhat alive. It has a mind of its own, like when the theme music never stops. Oh, it heard me. See? All right, we actually have sound coming through. That's a plus. That is a plus.
Oh, so how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Adam and Phil here with you as always. Today at the guest desk, nobody.
Hi.
Just the dunce hat.
Brand new equipment sitting over there.
I know. Beautiful.
So, brand new equipment. Brand new stuff for the studio.
Yeah.
Nobody even cares. I picked up a Smoky Mountain hillbilly hat with a corncob pipe on it, and we're going to label it as the dunce cap, the podcast dunce cap. Yes.
I like it.
As soon as I saw it, that was my first thought. Like, that's the podcast dunce cap right there.
I like it. It's kind of like the Harry Potter hats.
Right?
It'll tell you which house you belong to in the podcast realm.
It's either the studio bathroom, or the bidet. One of the three.
So, quite an eventful weekend as we had Tuscola-Palooza. You had a whole bunch of stuff going on outside of Tuscola-Palooza.
Right.
But wow, what a year this year.
Oh my goodness. Saturday, what a show, what a time to be alive. All of the bands were awesome, and all were awesome. Some were just a little bit more awesome-er, though. I have to admit.
There was a point where, to me, the turning point of the whole thing, when it went from bands playing in live music to a concert, happened within about 15 seconds of Reverend Right Time starting.
Oh, my goodness.
We were both sitting at the podcast table under the tent, and as soon as they went on, we're like, oh, we got to go check this out. And I remember from back in the day, those guys were good. Really, really good. But they really blew my doors off. I mean, they came out with such a presence and sounded so tight. And just phenomenal.
Did I hear that right? They haven't played in a year. They haven't played in a year. Like a show. They practiced, but they haven't played in a show in a year.
No, and hopefully that changes now. Hopefully they have the bug and
because Rev reiterated numerous times he's 54 years old and he was on a lot of Vicodin to get on stage. And
well, he puts on a big show. I mean, he's out there jumping around and moving around, and as a fellow person in the Half Century Club, I can tell you that takes a lot out of you.
Right? They had so much energy. It was ridiculous, though. And they sounded so good. They truly epic performance of the night. And that's a tough give because the Four Horsemen, holy crap.
Well, and I mean, they were phenomenal. I think I mentioned it to you there too. I seen Metallica twice when they were on tour for the Black Album. These guys may have sounded better than Metallica.
They probably did sound better than Metallica did live because, honestly, if I remember right, about that time, they were still trying to figure out how to play their instruments.
Well, it was a scenario where the sound guy, this is his second year there, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He had the sound dialed in from the very first band that came up. He was just phenomenal. And that was one big thing I noticed is usually when you're at a big festival like that, the first two bands are figuring everything out.
And we've seen it in the past, even at Tuscola-Palooza.
Yeah. Well, and anywhere, any festival I've ever been to, any concert I've ever been to, your first couple bands are there for the sound guy to figure out, get his shit together. And he had it together right from the very first.
He was moving. He was around. He was behind the stage, around the stage. He was constantly doing shit, too, the sound guy.
Yeah. Well, he has everything. He can make all these adjustments on his tablet that is connected to the board.
Right.
And just moving to the back of the we'll call it the arena. Back of the field there to make sure that the sound was decent back there, and then coming right up front. And when I went out front for the first time and heard how good everything sounded out front, I was like, oh wow. I mean, it was amazing. And when the bass drum kicked, you felt it in your chest. I mean, it was
kudos to the sound guy for sure.
Yeah, Brandon,
the sound guy, killed it.
Absolutely,
Brandon absolutely killed it. And you like you said from the very get, when the Whiskey Bottle Blues came on stage, they killed it.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I know the order of things, and I know why things kind of happen. But in my mind, Whiskey Bottle Blues should have been further down the order of bands to play, in my opinion.
No, I agree as well. And I mean, that would be a really hard lineup to say who should go on first.
Right.
And usually it's your lesser bands, your lesser known bands. And I would say they're probably lesser established than some of the other bands, but they were not lesser talented than the other bands. They sounded phenomenal.
Plus, I got their record on vinyl, and I'm excited about that. I have not had a chance to give it a listen yet, but I might just do that tonight after we're done with here. I might toss it on the old turntable, and it's great because the lead singer Ruben there made sure their merch lady came over, and because I said I wanted a record when and he made sure that she came over and had one for me. I bought the last one she had.
It's cool. There is something about getting an album like that on vinyl, and I knew. The funny part is, I knew the minute he said, "Yeah, I wanted our album on vinyl,"
right?
And I look over at you and I could see the wheels were turning. Like, got any more of those?
I need a copy of that.
And he hooked you up, so that was cool.
And for a couple reasons, for 3 actually 4, they're cool ass guys. They're a great band in my opinion. I like their sound. I like that whole bluesy kind of everything. I like that. 3, I love to support those guys, so it's great that I could buy one of their albums. And for 4, it's on vinyl. That's fucking cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And, there were CDs being thrown around and things like that. And Mike Abraham says, very few people pay for music, but for vinyl, it's such a novelty now. To pay for that is a pretty easy
Can I share a dirty little secret with you? I don't even have a way to play CDs right now, honestly.
Yeah, no.
I don't have a CD player. My truck doesn't have a CD player.
Nope.
My Mini doesn't have a CD player. I don't have one in my stereo rack downstairs. I've got dual cassette decks, and I've got a turntable, but I don't have a CD player.
Now, it's too bad that you didn't have 2 turntables and a microphone.
We'll work on that up here in the studio. Maybe that'll be the next thing. We'll put a DJ booth over there in the corner.
Yeah, that'll work.
What's DJ Lethal up to these days, or Everlast? Maybe they'll.
Yeah, I don't think anything now.
Yeah, maybe we could hire them to be the studio DJs, right?
That would be cool.
They can be over there just like.
If you want to be our studio DJ, let us know.
Well, that'll really up the production values. I feel like if we get some.
Or lower them.
Or lower them if you're.
I mean, I don't know if they
yeah, I don't know. The bar is pretty low. I'm not gonna lie. It happens. So, Tuscaloosa Blue. We talked about the Whiskey Bottle Blues. Next was, I'll always pronounce it wrong. Fabala. And those guys were good too. Really, they were happy to be at the show. They were a great interview, though. When we interviewed them, awesome interview. Yeah. Just an awesome interview. I enjoyed their set, and they're not as polished as some of the other bands there, but they knew it, and they did. They freely admitted that.
They talked about it when they were on stage, but I have a feeling, you give them a little while to get everything together, and they're going to be pretty solid.
Of course, their guitarist is the bassist for a short time for the band Tantric, who's a national recording artist. So, he's got a Wikipedia page. By the way, I checked it out today.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we don't even have a Wikipedia page.
Ashley.
What the hell, man? And then, of course, Big Medicine. I enjoyed everything about Big Medicine's set. They were tight. And then they had a rotation to the next band called Perfect Stranger. and it was all the same members of Big Medicine except for the lead singer,
Yeah.
which was cool. Fido was a cool dude, the drummer.
He was very, very cool. And a hell of a good drummer.
Yeah.
And Diane did a great job singing.
Yep.
She was a very good singer. And, if you want to get to know these bands a little bit, we did release all the interviews that we did with the bands. We didn't get all of them this year.
No, we got over half, though. We did get over half, which is awesome.
Yeah, we got over half, and it's still over an hour interviews.
And Cookie's there. Cookie gives some of his thoughts, too.
He does. And
But yeah, Diane and Fido from Perfect Stranger, awesome. They were awesome on the interviews. Friends with both of them now on Facebook. I didn't know them from anybody before, and now we're friends. That's the beauty of something like Tuscaloosa. And it's great because one of my coworkers actually had asked me, his wife wanted a shirt from the band Perfect Stranger.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Diane, I sent her out there, pointed him out. And so how cool is that we have the connections that I can send you the lead singer to get you a shirt for the band?
Well, and that's one of the fun things about Tuscaloosa, too, is
right.
There's a whole backstage area where the bands can hang out.
And it's segregated, but yeah.
Every one of them, not by color. Every one of them
segregated by color.
Every one of them goes out into the crowd.
It's by height. Even Reverend Right Time and the First Cousins of Funk, all of them were out jamming with the crowd. And Reverend's a national recording artist that had a big hit, like a radio hit back in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, and they were out there pretty much the whole day. I mean, they were just having a great time. It's not like they showed up 10 minutes before they were going to play or anything.
Nobody was divas or prima donnas. They showed up. They partied with everybody. They partook in everything recreationally and had some fun.
Well, and that was their big tour bus. Mm-hmm. They were there before we were.
Really?
Yeah.
They were just partying on the tour bus, huh?
Yep. They were hanging out on the tour bus, and then they came out about the time all the music started.
That's a fucking rock star lifestyle right there.
It is for sure. It is for sure.
Just pre-gaming on the party bus, or on the tour bus. Sorry.
For me, it was very nostalgic to see those guys because, like I say, got to play with them a couple times back in the Flint music scene, back in the late '90s, and they were cool as hell then. It was kind of funny because you never know. There's a whole bunch of different guys that play in that band.
What did Rev say? They've got like 20 members roughly.
Yeah.
And who's going to be there? Whoever shows up.
Yeah. Various horn players and things like that. And, but they were always cool, and that still holds true to this day. They were.
So that was the next band up after Perfect Stranger was Rev, and they blew the fucking doors off the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
The crowd, I remember looking out and seeing crowd people stunned at how good they were.
Well, it shocked me. Like I say, you and I were sitting there backstage, and I'm just like, they started within about 10 seconds. I looked at you, I'm like, we got to go out front.
And I said, hell yeah, we do.
And up to that point, I'd been pretty happy with being backstage and watching everything. I mean, it sounded great backstage.
Right.
But, up to that point, I was pretty happy being backstage watching everything. At that point, I had to go out front. It was like, oh, okay, this is... And I literally watched people come from their tents because the tents have to be kind of back off the stage, maybe 100 feet?
Yeah, I'd say 100 feet. Or
so more. There's plenty of room up front for people to come up and stand and see the show. And I literally watched a flood of people come up from their tents when they started playing. I mean, it was, and I don't know how many of those people were Reverend Right Time fans before.
I don't know. A lot of people were kind of like, they looked at him. First of all, they picked a theme. They were all dressed as Jackie Moon from.
Well, there was a Coffee Black.
Yeah, Coffee Black. Yeah.
And then there was another character.
But they were all wearing Flint Tropics uniforms, basketball uniforms. And it was fucking cool. They had the big old wigs on and everything. Like,
oh yeah, funky sunglasses, the whole deal.
Well, they do it. They did it up right, man.
They put on a whole show.
Yeah, like it was pleasing to all senses for the most part. And just so cool. But when they first got on stage, I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck is this? And then
Yeah.
they started playing, and you're like, holy crap.
Here we go.
When they play Do You Wanna, and what they do is that's kind of like a jam song, too.
Oh, yeah.
They break into they make it to kind of like a medley, and a bunch of the members have solos there in it, but it's still kind of cool to see, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And great musicians. I mean, they had horn players. They got their keyboard player is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had a keyboard solo even.
yeah. Well, and he's got a keytar. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that makes him cool right there.
That's badass right there. Just the keytar.
Yes. So anytime somebody busts out a keytar, you know it's a party. So,
Yeah. Shit, grab your knickers. It's a party.
but you know, if you've got an experience, if you're watching, listening, whatever right now, and you've got an experience, send us a message. Let us know what is like the best. And you and I are going to talk about this further because we don't really have a top 10 list this week because it's just you and I. But let us know what the best band you've seen live, whether they're local band, national act, whatever. But the best bands you've seen live. And let us know.
So I gotta say, like, I just got back like a couple weeks ago. We went to Pine Knob and we saw, Third Eye Blind and Yellow Card. I would put the performance that Rev put on as well as the performance that the Four Horsemen put on above either ones that those guys did at Pine Knob.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was only $20 to get into the goddamn thing.
Yeah, that's the amazing part. You just look at the spectacle of it and the fact that every year it gets bigger. Every year there's more people there. They bring in new things. A couple of years ago they did the Midway.
Yep.
Started doing the Midway, and Jason Pizik and the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
They did
shout
a
out to
great
those
job.
guys. They
played a long time.
They kept everybody entertained. They probably end up playing for about an hour and a half to 2 hours total throughout the day.
I would say, yeah.
About 2 hours total throughout the day, and they sounded good. Everything they did sounded pretty awesome to me.
It did, and you got to appreciate that when you got a band that just comes out there. They don't know how long they're going to play for every time.
There are a lot of times when they're like, "Hey, all right, give it up for blah blah blah," and they'd be like, "Nope, play one more. We got some time." Okay, they'd pull out something else and play another song.
Yeah, it was impressive. I would also put the performance that I seen Rev give. I probably top 10 live performances I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of live performances.
I was honestly thinking the same thing. Like it blew me the fuck away.
Yeah.
And I got to be like, I was backstage for the end of it and watching, and I was just in awe. I sat there, I got goosebumps just sitting there watching that shit. It was so fucking cool.
Well, I was trying to figure some stuff out with the board and what was going on because we had some technical difficulties out there. Not with our local recordings, but we were trying to go live and show some stuff off. And it was enough to make me get up away from the computer, which does not happen very often.
It was cool. So Rev, MVPs of the day as far as the bands that played, could have easily been the headliner. If they'll come back next year, we need to put the bug in everybody's ear that they should really come back next year. And they said, we talked to several members of the band. I did. They said they fucking enjoyed it. They said they loved it.
Oh,
By the way, big shout out to the weather, whoever controls that. Perfect day for it, man. It wasn't too hot. It was just warm enough. It was a little warm at times, but not unbearable like it has been in the past.
We had like an hour where the sun was beating on us where we were at.
Yeah.
The minute that went behind the stage and the stage canopy was covering us, it was perfect.
It was beautiful.
There was enough of a breeze, though, even when the sun was beating on us, there was enough of a breeze to keep you from totally overheating.
Now, so the weather, the bands. Next up, of course, was Infamous Quick after Rev just blew the doors off everything. And Infamous Quick, in my opinion, I've seen them now in the last just couple years. I've seen them now. This is the 6th time I've seen them. It was one of their better performances I've seen from them, too.
Oh, yeah. They did some new songs that I hadn't heard them do before. I got to give on the Audio Slave song, I got to tip my hat to Brad. He did a phenomenal job on the guitar work on that, because it's not hard guitar. It's hard guitar with the effects that you have to use.
So here's the thing about
pull that song
what
off.
Brad did on that performance of that song on Saturday. It sounded exactly like the studio version they put out on an album. And that's not easy to do live.
No.
Because
no.
do you know how many takes they had to do to get that in the studio and everything too?
Oh, yeah. And, we were lucky enough. We were over at the Mid-Michigan Audio Labs studio to watch one of their practices. And we got to hear them do that. And I thought, well, that's one of those things. There you go. That's one of those things that he's sitting here in the studio. It sounds good here. We'll see how it sounds live.
He killed it.
It was exactly the
Brad.
same. He nailed it.
Brad is the epitome of professional when it comes to a musician. Now I feel like that dude fucking gets it.
He is a bit of a perfectionist, and he is really good at being a perfectionist.
But anyway, Like a Stone by them, one of my favorite performances as far as songs of the day. Top 10 for me, as well as Lola Montez. But that's just a killer song, though.
It is. It is.
Like, it's hard not to. That song should make you fucking rev you up and make you smile. I don't know why. It just does.
Well, and I'm going to go back to the sound. The sound system they had there, they had a bigger stage this year. So the bands weren't as cramped. It's good sound when Brad and Eric are walking around relaxed.
Yeah, they were. This is the most chill I've seen Brad and Eric this is the fourth Tuscaloosa we've been to and we've done. And this is the most chill I've seen them at a Tuscaloosa.
Well, normally, there's stuff that goes wrong. There's technical glitches. There's, whatever. But this was perfect all the way around. There were no issues with the sound. And that sound guy was a consummate professional and had it dialed in.
And that reminds me, another tip of the hat I want to give to the crowd, the fans. Everybody was cool as shit. There were no problems. Everybody picked up after themselves. Everyone was respectful. It was just a great day all the way around.
Yeah, it was really, really chill. Just the whole feel of it there. It was just, It was, I think I said on Facebook, great music for a great cause. And, I'm sure that they broke records again this year for how much they're going to be able to give the Child Advocacy Center of Tuscola County, and that when it was kind of funny because Mary's like, I kind of had to look up what it was. I kind of thought it was like a Make-A-Wish type of thing, but no, they're working with some
troubled youth and things like that, or
kids who really,
are in bad situations.
Really, really, really need the help. And so I mean, the fact that you're able to be a part of that, and whether you're there to watch and enjoy yourself, or there to help and volunteer, there to play music, there with a food truck, just to be part of all that stuff is really pretty special and pretty awesome. So
yeah, and that's another one of my you actually just mentioned another tip of the cap to Savage Burger and Pancho Villa, the food trucks there. Jose and Savage Burger just killed it all day long.
Dude, I was so stuffed all day. And it was so good. It was so good.
Also want to give a shout out to Sharon, Cookie's wife, for providing me with a bunch of snacks too. I appreciate that. Thanks, Sharon.
She hooked us up with some early snacks when the food trucks were just getting going. They were packed, and we did not. I was really afraid for both of us that we were going to waste away to nothing.
Yeah, so don't think I appreciated that to the max. So thank you, Sharon.
Yes,
thank you very much.
No, it was just a great day overall, and we talked about on some of the interviews, we saw bands that weren't playing this year that had played there in the past. Sybil and the Beast were there.
Chase Wilson,
Blind Riots.
Yeah.
That come back out and support this, and hopefully we'll see them both at a future iteration. But man, what a just
And
a
they
great
do like
day.
to. We've talked to Eric about this. They don't like to have the same bands over and over again, but they'll give them a year cushion or so if they can. For Chase, Blind Riots wanted to be there, but they had something else come up. One of their members was going to be out of state or something. And congratulations to Chase too. His wife is they're going to have a baby pretty soon. Chase, just a great dude. Like I chatted with him for a solid couple minutes, and I can't say enough about it. I love the Blind Riots. I love that band. I do, and we know this. So yeah, cool to see those guys out there. Just all in all, man, how awesome was the day, though? I mean, everything we've talked about is just so cool. Like everybody coming out, everybody supporting each other, everybody being cool. Like I said, these members of other bands that aren't even playing are there, and they're there to support the event, the cause, as well as all the bands that are playing too.
Well, and we had one of the bands mention it. It's all these bands know each other, and you know, from when I used to play in the late '90s, it was much like that. When you have a few original songs and you're playing the same type of circuits, you know, I mean, we played, and most bands that we knew played a mix of covers and originals, because you had to be able to fill a full night or you were never going to get booked anywhere. And but you become a pretty close, tight-knit family, because when you go to things like this that have 3, 4, 5, 8 bands, you become very familiar with everybody.
Yep.
You know, because there's not, let's face it, we're in an area where there's not 100 different bands out there that you're going to see different bands every time you're out. When you're a band playing, you're going to see a couple of new bands, and you're going to see a couple that you've seen, you know, or been on a ticket with 3 or 4 times. And it's cool.
Although I do believe, and we've heard right now, there's a huge resurgence of music and bands in Genesee County. And I think I have a feeling we're going to be more involved with that in the future here. Because
Yeah, I hope so.
Because I think we've got an in for some of those. And I've got some contacts, and the thing is we've just got to get out. I would love to do like we did with Infamous Quick One show. I would love to do a live on Rock Radio 360 again of a show.
Yeah, I would too. And, you know, most of these bands have a confident enough sound guy that it's easy to pump all their sound into our stuff.
Yeah.
And make it sound good. And so, yeah, I think we need to do that. I would love to get out and do more of that stuff.
Count me in, my friend.
Good deal.
So after all that, we had the 99, Mike Abraham's outfit. And they played, 8 new songs from their new album, as well as some covers and some old favorites. And I enjoyed the 99 set a lot, too, this year. I always do. I've always enjoyed everything I've seen from them.
Oh, yeah. They put on a great show, and, you know, their bass player is so good.
Yeah.
And their guitar player is not new now, but the guitar player that they have is just a lot of fun to watch on stage. The guy's kind of a madman up there.
He really is.
He kind of reminds me of an Angus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
You know, he's not a gigantic man, and he's just kind of all over the place on that stage, and a little wild,
Right.
a little wild, but plays so well. And I do want to tell Abraham, you're going to hit somebody with that mic one of these days.
I know he swings that thing around. He just lets it, or it's good, or the cord's going to let loose and it's going to go flying.
Every sound guy that sees a singer that does that goes, don't do that.
Right?
But no, they put on a great show. And then, of course, the Four Horsemen, like I say, see Metallica twice, and I think they sounded better.
Just as good, if not better.
Well, I don't know how you sound more like the lead singer on the album than the lead singer does when you see them live.
Once again, that magic of studio work. But
Well,
yeah.
you can tell they just spend a lot of time. They enjoy the music.
Dude, they were into it, man.
Oh, yeah.
And the hair thing, like the synchronized, like the hair flipping around, like
Yeah.
it was visually impressive. It sounded amazing. And not only did they play Metallica songs, they played a few Megadeth songs too.
They did. They threw in 2 Megadeth songs in there. And, you know, I encourage everybody. One thing I did notice in doing my bit of research that I do on bands when I'm going to see them, I went out. They have a lot of their rehearsals on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, kind of totally pull back the curtain and
That's pretty rad. That's pretty cool.
well, what I appreciate about what they do is they go up there and they don't try and sound just like Metallica, but they go up there as the Four Horsemen, and they're not up there to try and trick you into thinking, oh, they're Metallica, and then their sound suffers because they're so concerned about how they look up there or what they're doing.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past.
Those guys were just solid.
Not with the Four Horsemen.
No, those guys were just solid all the way around. Great performance and just really, really great sound. I mean, when they claim to be a album authentic band,
Yeah.
they are. They are.
Cannot say enough about the Four Horsemen. Awesome. And that wrapped up the day as far as bands. Just really, really cool. Everything was great, man. Some of the performances just blew me away. In no particular order, things I loved about the day were just the day, our interviews, the Whiskey Bottle Blues, Infamous Quick, the 99, then Four Horsemen, Perfect Stranger, and then, of course, just Reverend Right Time and the First Cousins of Funk. Holy shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And, of course, and this is the shout out to Eric and Terry and the whole board for having us, to allow us to be sponsors of the event and do things, to come hang out, to get to be part of this crew, part of this family, to the Captain family, a beautiful tribute to Wade to kick off the show. Of course, we lost Wade earlier this year, the patriarch there and owner of the property, and one of his things he wanted was the show to go on, and it did. And it was killer, and the show's going to continue to go on for Tuscola-Palooza. The
funny thing about Wade is the first year we were out there, I'm talking to this guy, and we're just talking and shooting the shit. And then I found out later that was Wade, and he was, he owned the property, and he's, but he was just such a nice guy. And
Right.
so, he was thanking me for us being there. And, I find out later I should have been thanking him for us being there.
Most people be like, why the fuck are you on my property?
Yeah. Yeah, you're taking up 100 square feet of my property with that tent, you son of a bitch.
And
but no.
What the hell is a podcast? No, Wade was a cool guy, a great guy, a gracious guy, loved by tons of people. And he was sorely missed, but I think if you believe in such a thing, wherever he's at, he was definitely smiling down on the day for sure.
Oh, yeah, had to be. And, wish he was there to see it, but I'm sure wherever he is, he was watching over it, because you couldn't ask for the day to go any better. Just the temperament of all the people, and there's a fair share of partying that goes on there. But the temperament of everybody, the weather, everything across the board couldn't have been done better.
This is my fourth time with Tuscola-Palooza, but easily best one yet, hands down. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to all the bands. Thank you to the Tuscola-Palooza board for having us. Thanks to Eric. Thanks to Mike Abraham. Thanks to Terry. If I'm forgetting someone, I apologize. We love you all. Thank you. And Cookie, thanks for hanging out with us too. Cookie and Sharon, thanks for coming out with us. Mary was there. Silent N was there for the day. We had a good day, man.
It was a good time. Yeah. And so off the subject of Tuscola-Palooza, but not totally off the music subject, since we're winding down on this episode. Who are some of the best live performances you've seen, either local bands or touring bands that you've seen?
So one of the best bands I've seen consistently that I've seen them 6 times now, and I will always go to their shows, is Korn, the band Korn.
Yeah,
I've never seen them put on a bad show.
No.
Every time they kill it every time. They come to mind. There was one time, and I don't know if it was where I was at in my life, but we were at old Cobo Hall, and it was just before Christmas. It might have been one of those, I think it was like Nightmare Before Christmas shows or something like that 89X used to put on. And Weezer was the headliner, and they came out, and Weezer just killed it. They sounded great. It was beautiful, like everything, and just the mood of the whole crowd. So it wasn't just the performance of the band; it was the whole crowd that was there, was really into it. I definitely remember that one, and I'm trying to think of other performances that come to mind. Believe it or not, one of the most amazing ones I ever saw, and it was early in his career. I think it was only after his second album. This was at Joe Louis Arena. Was Eminem. Actually, he put on a killer show.
I would imagine he would.
Yeah. It was just after that second album. And as far as locally, like Reverend Right Time, that one hit just perfect. I think the set, and of course the Four Horsemen this year, the set that the 99 did last year was the best one I've ever seen from them. Not saying this year was terrible, it was good. But last year they came out and they just fucking banged it, man. They killed it last year, the 99 did.
Yeah, I would agree. So for me, Korn is right up there. They put on a great show. So one of the smaller bands that I seen that I thought put on a phenomenal show was Reverend Horton Heat.
Oh yeah.
So good. That big upright bass.
Yep.
I got to see them in some small venues. Early Limp Bizkit.
So that show that I saw Eminem, Limp Bizkit was the headliner, and they fucking killed it too. That was just a great night all the way around.
Well, I saw them at the bar in the bowling alley in Lapeer.
That's awesome.
With about 10 other people in the bar. And it was very, very, very early in their career. I hadn't heard anything by them yet. They had released Counterfeit, but they weren't even on like their big tour yet.
That whole first album though, with like Counterfeit and Faith, and oh my god.
But even in that little shit bar with like 10, 15 people in there, they put on one hell of a show.
Right.
Just one hell of a show. And saw them later. After
I was supposed to go see him last night, but I was busy with stuff with my family because I got asked to go to the show last night a couple times. People had tickets, and I had to say no. I would love to see Limp Bizkit again at this age. I have not seen them for 20 plus years. Ooh, excuse me, it'd be cool. Another band, do you want to know, that sticks out in my mind that I always had a good time and went to see, and I saw them 6 different times? One time I saw them at a fucking bowling alley in Elma, Michigan, just south of fucking Mount Pleasant.
Oh, that's cool.
Get who this is, Jackal.
Damn.
Yeah. They were on that. If you remember, they had that one year where they did that tour where they were doing 365 and 365. They were doing 365 shows every day for a year, and they didn't care where they played. They played at the fucking bowling alley in Elma, and there was probably maybe 150 people there.
Well, the funny part was when Limp Bizkit was going to play somewhere else, and their show got canceled. They were going to play like down in Fraser or something at basically a bar, like a larger bar. Mm-hmm. And it got canceled. So their manager just pulled a show out of his ass and got them in the bar at the bowling alley, which the bowling alley is now tore down.
Yeah.
The one that was there in Lapeer, on Lapeer Road. And
hey, you're playing at a bowling alley tonight. They're like, oh man, cool. We're from Jacksonville. We don't give a shit.
I heard about this show, and I got a hold of a couple friends. I'm like, you guys want to go over and see this? Because apparently these guys are going to be pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big. They were one of the biggest things of the late 90s, early 2000s, man.
And actually got to, hang out with and meet Fred, and which Fred was always kind of a dick.
Wes Borland is a real deal.
Wes Borland was level-headed, just...
Wes Borland is pretty much the whole band, although the drummer is pretty good, though, too.
Oh, yeah. So. Well, and Lethal, he was awesome.
Yep.
I mean, Fred was all right.
Right.
But you can see why people would not like him if you...
Sam Otto is the name of the drummer, I think, yeah.
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 So, that was pretty great. Seven Dust always puts on one of the best shows I've ever seen.
I've only seen Seven Dust once, and I want to see them so badly again.
I've probably seen them 8-10 times.
Seven Dust. So one of my favorite bands along that same ilk, and I saw them on the Warped Tour, because I went to the Warped Tour for 7 straight years, and a lot of years I went twice, because I went in Chicago, Detroit one year, and I went Cleveland, Detroit one year, is the Vandals, the band of Vandals. But I love them. I love the Vandals. They always put on a killer show. So much energy. It's just punk. It's kind of punk pop, but really cool. But going to the Warped Tour for those years is how I managed to see, like, I've probably seen at this point, I would say 200 plus bands live, you know, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. So, I derailed. I was going to say the best live show I've ever seen, and I've only seen them once, is Shinedown.
Everybody raves about Shinedown. I've never seen Shinedown.
So I was told before I was going to this show, because I saw them at the Riff birthday party.
Yeah.
And I was told, oh, they're not going to play very long at that because it's not their tour. They won't play. They played for 1 hour and 52 minutes.
That's fucking cool.
And just literally one of the best sounding shows I've ever been to. They were just phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Another one that rates up real high for me is, and I didn't expect it to, System of a Down.
Right.
I've seen them twice. So
I've heard they're a good band to see live too.
I saw them on an Ozfest. They were on the second stage, and they were great. The drummer for Drum Throne had a toilet, and they were a wild band to watch. And I mean, I didn't even know who I was watching. And then Anthony became a real big fan of them, and we went to see them a few years ago at Pine Knob. And holy shit, just a great show.
Cool.
Just a great show.
Another one that sticks out of my mind, and they actually opened for Korn, and it was at Saginaw at Dow Event Center, and it was only a couple of years ago. Chevelle put on one of the best sets I've seen live too.
I've heard that, and I've never seen them.
Chevelle's a good band. I saw them live years ago. They only had one record out then, though, so they came out, they played like 4 or 5 songs, and they're like, all right, we're Chevelle.
Bye.
So we'll see. More live shows. We got to do more live shows. I'm going to see, actually, I cannot wait. I'm going to see in September, I'm going to see Clutch with Rival Sons. I haven't seen Clutch in 20-some years, one of my favorite bands of all time. I've had tickets. It got thwarted a couple times because my ex-wife, all of a sudden, I've told this story. She hated Clutch, hated that I listened to Clutch the whole time we're married. Her current fiance is a huge Clutch fan, so they go see them. So I had tickets to the Machine Shop to see Clutch at the Machine Shop. And I gave them to one said Eddie Fury and his brother. Just gave them the tickets.
You know, I've seen Clutch a whole bunch. Probably my favorite show of theirs was at the Phoenix Amphitheater down in Pontiac. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to that venue?
I have.
It's a crazy-ass venue.
Yeah. Yep.
And oddly enough, I've seen Reverend Horton Heat like 4 times. They opened up for Clutch, and then there was another band that I had no idea who they were. They kind of sucked. But then Reverend Horton Heat came out, and then Clutch comes out. Just a badass show.
I am so excited about this Clutch show. I just remembered it, and I can't wait. Like, I'm going to have to give a full report for this one because, goddamn, I just can't wait to go see Clutch. It's been too long.
So, a couple of bands that I didn't expect to think that were great. Pop Evil. I thought they'd be okay. They put on a hell of a show. Had they not opened up for Shinedown when I saw them, and Shinedown just blew the doors off of the place, it was a great show. I mean, they put on one hell of a show. And going way back, White Zombie.
Yes, I've seen White Zombie too.
Probably, when they were White Zombie, probably one of the best live shows overall that I've ever seen.
So get this. I went to a show back in the day. The opening act, Power Man 5000, White Zombie, than Korn. It was at the Palace.
Oh man.
However, Power Man 5000 came out and they were flat. It was the end of the tour. I think it was the last date of the tour actually. Power Man 5000 came out. They were flat. They sucked. We almost booed them off the stage. They sucked. They didn't give a shit. They were just going through the motions. White Zombie came out and made it right, and then Korn came out and made it even righter.
Yeah, for sure. Korn always puts on a good show. And Family Values Tour, one of my favorite shows I've ever been to, like overall. You know, Ice Cube was there. Very, very, very stripped down, like compared to all these bands. He went on, and then Rammstein came out and went on, and it's like, what a huge contrast.
Everyone raves about the show Rammstein puts on because they put on, like, they've got big sets, big things, big
Huge pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
I mean, huge pyrotechnics. So when we
They're
saw
gonna
him,
burn the damn place down.
well, yeah, when we saw him, he actually has a big flaming bow, and it's on a line when he shoots it, but he shoots this gigantic flaming arrow up into the roof of the venue.
Right.
And you know, we're at the Palace, and he
like-
pulls out this bow and this.
You're like, where's the exit? Where's the exit?
Yeah, it's like, oh well, we're all gonna get wet when the fire alarm goes off.
Right.
But it was a phenomenal show all the way around.
And all the ladies are like, time to get wet.
Yes. So, and then then Limp Bizkit came out, Korn, and then they came out all at the end. All the bands
Yeah.
together. They did the All in the Family song.
Yeah.
Which was just at the time was just the coolest thing ever.
I saw this thing for the lead singer of Rammstein, and like, there was a debate one time about if he was straight or gay or whatnot, and then somebody just finally concluded, no, he's just German.
Yeah. Yep.
He's just German.
You know, if you see him lately,
Yeah.
he looks like a fat Joe Gatto from
Does.
Impractical Jokers. He looks just like a fat Joe Gatto. So
He really does.
before we wrap this thing up,
Yeah.
worst live performance you've ever seen?
Well, I just mentioned that. One from Power Man 5000. That was definitely on the list. And one other time, let's see, who was it? Fuck. One of the bands came out. They were having some problems. Oh, Smashing Pumpkins, man. Billy Corgan's a diva.
Oh yeah.
He came out and the sound was all fucked up and everything. They played 2 songs. He said, fuck it. He walked off the stage and he didn't come back.
Oh man. Were they the headliner?
They were not, thankfully, but yeah.
Oh.
It
Yeah,
was like,
I've heard he's a complete ass. I had a friend when I was going to college at Saginaw Valley. He worked at the Dow Event Center, and he was specifically like a stagehand when they brought concerts
right,
and stuff
all that
in.
stuff, yeah.
And he used to talk about some of the biggest assholes. He said that Nikki Sixx was one of the largest assholes on the planet. Like, just an absolute dick. He mentioned Billy Corgan. Oddly enough, he said some of the nicest people that he worked with, that came in there. Marilyn Manson
I've heard he's a great dude. I've heard from a lot of people he's a great dude.
said that he was super, super nice, like bought everybody food and stuff that was setting up the stage. And
You know who's another really nice person that I've actually encountered this, also very intelligent, is Ted Nugent. I got to spend a day with him. When I worked at the bar in Lexington, I got to be his concierge for the day when he was at the Lexington Village Theater. So I got to hang out with him for a good part of the day. And he's sober. He doesn't drink or anything like that. But, like, he was talking about books and everything else. And we had a good conversation, like, really thoughtful, really nice to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
like,
I've heard
you
that
might not
too.
agree with him, like his politics or maybe some other things, but from what I saw, he's a good person. He's a good dude, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
he's smart. He's really smart too.
The Motor City Madman.
The Motor City Madman. He knows what he's doing.
For me, the worst live show I've ever seen was, and I really can narrow it down to one person in the band, Axl Rose.
Oh yeah.
So saw them on the Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 tour with Metallica. And Faith No More came out. They were pretty good. You know, I mean, you really only knew one of their songs at the time.
Right.
But they were solid. They sounded good, and they put on a good show. And then Guns N' Roses comes out.
Oh.
And halfway through songs, he's like going off the stage. He wore about it was like watching a boy band, because he came out with about 10 different outfits. And it was just, it's like, come on, dude, just play music. And meanwhile, he came out in like his catcher's gear and stuff. Like, who gives a shit?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that catcher's chest protector is not famous. Nobody
Right.
gives a shit about it. But he came out in that, and something happened. And he wore the knee shin guards and all that too. And something happened with those, and he ripped one of them off and threw it off stage. And then something happened with his microphone, and he threw that off stage.
Huh.
And then he walked off the stage the other way, and Slash just gets up there and starts doing a solo. And it was in the middle of Live and Let Die.
Oh,
And
Lord.
Slash just got up there and started doing a solo, and it's like,
Probably just shaking his head the whole time.
he saved that show.
Right.
And then, of course, Metallica got up there, and they were pretty awesome. So it was a good overall concert.
Right.
But we all left there. Those of us that went, we all left, and we're kind of like, why are they touring with Guns N' Roses? I would have never ever paid to see
that's
Guns
the
N' Roses
last thing I would have picked. All right, one more quick one. We only got a couple more minutes, and we'll get out of here. Have you ever been to a show where they had so many problems, so many issues, but the band still overcame it and were gracious about it and were really cool and powered through it and still tried their best to entertain everybody and put on a good show? You ever seen anything like that?
Who was it? So they were having trouble with the bass player, the drummer were having tons of trouble with their miking on
Yeah.
that stuff. And I have a feeling it was because all the microphones actually seemed to work. The bass was going through a direct box, and then the drums were all triggers. And I'm trying to remember who it was, but they got up and they basically got up and just mic'd themselves and did an acoustic set.
The similar thing happened to me, but with a band you may have heard of before, Rage Against the Machine. Shit was
really?
going sideways. They were blowing breakers, fuses. Power was on and off, and Tom Morello just grabbed the guitar, and the drummer just mic'd up his drums, and him and Zach just kind of put on saved the show. It was actually pretty awesome. Like,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
yeah,
And with me, this was not a big band.
yeah.
They weren't even the headliner at that show. They just had a shitload of trouble, and I think had the headliner been ready to come out, they probably would have just cut it. But they got through like 3 songs before everything started going to hell.
Right.
And then
Oh, I forgot about another diva too. One time I saw, I went
do
and saw
tell.
Stained, and he was just in a pissy mood that day.
oh yeah,
Aaron Lewis was in a bad mood.
Forgive me for saying this.
Yeah,
I don't want letters, but I think Aaron Lewis is kind of a diva bitch.
he is. So this was at Pine Knob, and it was actually Korn was the headliner, and Stained was there, and he was bitching about everything. And that's when Jonathan Davis had just recovered from COVID, so he actually had to sing on stage. He sat on a throne with a bottle of oxygen beside him for the show.
Yeah.
And he didn't complain about a goddamn thing. And Aaron Lewis is out there bitching about everything.
Now, who is somebody that you would love to see that you haven't seen yet?
Still out there touring acts that are current.
Yeah.
I would have to say, if I think about it, Shinedown's definitely on the list. Shinedown is definitely on the list. I have not seen them. I would love to see Run the Jewels. I was supposed to, but they kept canceling that tour, and I don't even think it went out. They were supposed to be with Rage Against the Machine. Other bands, so Run the Jewels, Shinedown, Social Distortion. I've never seen Social Distortion live. One of my favorite bands.
Solid choices.
Yeah. Yep.
I really want to see the Foo Fighters.
I've seen the Foo Fighters.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah, back in, it was in Seattle, so it was probably 2008, maybe? 2007. Really good. Killer. Just beautiful. What a beautiful show.
Awesome. I've, anymore when I really want to see something, I just kind of watch it on YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, I've really wanted to see.
I mean, my big three that I would love to have seen live, but there's no chance of it anymore, are, of course, it's Led Zeppelin. Then the next one that I would have loved to see that didn't get to is Sublime, and then Nirvana. Those are my big three I would have loved to have seen live.
I would have loved to have seen Van Halen.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen Alice in Chains, like the original lineup. And I really would have liked to have seen Stone Temple Pilots.
So I saw Stone Temple Pilots, and I wanted to see Alice in Chains, and then I didn't get to. So they're number 4 on my list, probably.
I saw Alice in Chains with
the new lead singer.
Yeah, with William Duvall, and they were great. I mean, it was a great show. He does a really good job. He does not try to be, lame.
Yeah. Three biggest. Okay, we only got a couple of minutes, but regrets now. Shows that you should have gone to, you were offered to go to, you were offered tickets or free, and didn't go. Do you have any of those and didn't end up going?
So you're not going to like this one.
Okay.
So Mary and I bought tickets years ago to go see a band. Pine Knob double sold tickets. We got about 15 miles from Pine Knob and we couldn't go any further.
Really?
And we're like, what in the hell? And so we're listening to the riff going to the show. And they're like, if you're going to see these guys, you're probably not going to get in. And they had oversold it, but then they sold every ticket twice. And so they're like, yeah, you're not going to get in. They had sold like 72,000 tickets.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so you can imagine trying to get into Pine Knob with that many people trying to get in there.
And who was the band?
Take one guess. You'll hate it.
I can't even.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in you. Nickelback.
Oh my God. I should have guessed that.
You
I
should
put
have.
them out of my brain. Fucking Nickelback. So I got my 5 that I've either had tickets to, offered tickets to, declined tickets to, and didn't go. Eric Clapton, Bob Seger's last show. Was supposed to go with Eddie. At the Machine Shop Clutch, I gave my tickets to Eddie. At the Machine Shop, no, not at the Machine Shop, once again, Wheeler Walker Jr., I raffled my tickets off. That was part of our agreement on the podcast. We had a DJ that night, and if I couldn't find a date, which I asked three different women, they all turned me down. If I couldn't find a date, I had to raffle off my tickets, and I did. Wheeler Walker Jr. at the Machine Shop. The last one, Chris Cornell's last show. I actually had tickets or offered tickets to that one and didn't go.
Really?
Yeah, the night he offed himself, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Those are my 5 biggest regrets.
Maybe he really wanted to see you and he'd still be here.
Maybe I'm the reason.
He'd have showed up.
Nah, that's a big burden, man. Maybe I'm the fucking reason.
So there was that Nickelback one. One that turned out really good was when Mary was working in radio, she got tickets to go see Everclear.
No, I love Everclear. I was just singing an Everclear song today, and my son's like, what the fuck?
So she talks to the manager at the station. He's like, hey, your tickets will be at Will Call. Let's go to Will Call. They're in your name. We get there. And they were just supposed to be lawn seats. No big deal. We go there, and we go to Will Call. And they're like, we don't have any tickets for you. So she calls station manager, can't get a hold of him. This guy walks up to us. She's pretty upset. And this guy walks up to us and he goes, did I hear you that you were supposed to have tickets and they didn't have them for you? She's like, yeah. And he just hands us 2 tickets. I have no idea who this guy was. He's like, here you go. This will get you in.
He was your guardian angel that day.
We were just left of center, 11th row.
Oh my God! In the plaza.
Yeah.
Geez.
And I mean, it was phenomenal.
That's fantastic. That's almost like my Tigers that one day when I was on a date with Marcia. And it was 4:20, and we went down to a Tigers game. And I said, we'll just pick up tickets. Tigers weren't very good then, obviously. We'll just pick up tickets there. And these wacky Canadians walk up to us, and they're like, you guys need tickets? And I'm like, yeah, and, we're wary of it because people are walking up to us asking us about tickets left and right as it is. They hand us, they're like, we got a couple extra. We actually won them. Feel free if you want them, take them. I'm like, can I pay you something for them? They're like, no, just don't worry about it. We came over from Canada. We're probably only going to go to the game for a couple innings, and we're going to go hit the casinos. So we walk in, get to the seats, and these guys are sitting beside us. I bought them a beer. We are behind the first base dugout, 11 rows back.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So I'm like, yep.
So
Nice.
The last opening day at Tiger Stadium,
Yeah.
Mickey and I went down, and we just had bleacher seats. And we're walking around Tiger Stadium. Everybody knows it's the last opening day. It's packed. And there's this guy. He's like, you need tickets? We're like, no, we've got tickets. He's like, these are probably better. Mickey goes, I'm not paying any more for tickets. He's like, no, I'm just trying to give these away.
Yeah.
He goes, I had 2 people that let me know last minute they couldn't come. They're good seats. So here you go. And we were probably third base side, 10 or so rows back. And, we gave away our bleacher tickets.
Yeah, like that.
So the first thing we did was we go up and we made sure they were real.
Yeah.
And we're like, can we get in with these? The guy's like, yeah. We're like, oh, no shit.
Sweet.
So we gave away our bleacher seats because there was lots of people there trying to get tickets. And these people were trying to buy bleacher seats off this guy for like $50 a pop. And Mickey just walks up. He's like, hey, just put your money away, and hands him the tickets. And that guy looked at him. If it hadn't been crowded, he'd have stabbed him. I'm sure he'd have stabbed him because he was about to get $100 for bleacher seat. I think he had a face value of $7 at the time.
Get out of here.
So yeah,
All
good
right.
stuff.
Speaking of getting out of here, we should get out of here.
We should. We're overdue.
All right. Thanks a lot for tuning in to the P&A Podcast Express. He's Adam Filkins. I'm Phil Nickel. Thank you, as always, for listening. Thank you to everybody for the perfect day of Tuscola-Palooza. From the top to the bottom, from the left to the right, everybody was awesome. It was a great day for a great cause. Next year is going to be even better. They've always gotten better. So the one thing I want to tell everybody is make good choices.